This is the most advanced e-bike I've ever tested. AirLock, anti-theft bike locking, an alarm system, electronic shifting, optional rearview radar, I'll talk more about that later, navigation on the display, 80-mile range, music and notifications on the display as well, and an incredibly smooth and powerful ride. This, of course, is the brand new Segway Myon. The Segway Myon is perhaps the most well thought out e-bike I've ever tested, and it makes many other e-bikes just feel outdated. But not everything is positive. With more tech sometimes comes more hiccups. So in this video, I'll cover both pros and cons. This video is not sponsored by Segway. Segway had no input on this video whatsoever. We do have a sponsor I'll talk about as a mid-roll later on, but otherwise, let's talk about the design of this e-bike. So we have a hub motor in the back that's gonna be doing all of the powering. It's 500 watts, which sounds lower than many other e-bikes, but you'll see in the testing later, it's definitely not underpowered. The tires are 27.5 inches by 1.95. We have an 80mm front suspension fork, and you can adjust the preload on both sides. We have hydraulic disc brakes on the front and back, a 2.4-inch TFT color display, speakers on board, that's mostly for AirLock, which as I mentioned, we'll talk about and test later in the video. And this comes in 2 sizes and 2 colors. So both of them are gonna be kind of a step-through model like this, but if you wanted to have the high crossbar here, maybe you like have a pouch you wanna put on that, you can buy that, and there's 2 mounting points. You can see a mounting point on either side of the bottom of the seat here, and then one right below the stem in the front. This is also IPX7 water resistant, so you should be fine to ride this in the rain, or I don't know, if you accidentally drop it in a puddle for a little bit. I don't do it, but technically you should be okay. The weight limit on here, this can support riders up to 300 pounds. That of course includes the back, and the back rack does support 55 pounds, so you're not gonna put a rider there necessarily, but it's a pretty sturdy rack, and I think it's gonna be great for having some cargo. There's a lot of tie down points on here as well. You'll see we have a lot of lights on here, both on the rear. So we've got blinkers on the handlebars. We also have headlights on the very front. And of course the headlights can be automatic or manually enabled. And the entire bike weighs about 73 pounds. There's more design aspects I'll talk about throughout the video, but kind of going through some more categories, I want to talk about the comfort of riding this bike. So the seat is adjustable quite a bit. And like I said, there are 2 different sizes of this e-bike. So it should fit a really wide range of rider sizes. We've got a fairly comfortable seat, pretty wide. Obviously, you could always replace the seat as well, but I really like this seat. The handlebars have kind of a very nice grip to them. They're not like the flat ergonomic kind of leathery ones that a lot of other e-bikes have. I actually really like the design of these, and of course you can see the blinkers on the outside then, so there's plenty of space for the handlebars. The front stem actually does have a lot of adjustability too, so you can make it higher if you want to sit more upright, or it could be a little more forward if you want to have, slightly more of a lean, of course depending on your arm length and stuff like that. There's no rear suspension, but of course front suspension I think does a pretty good job. If it's a really bumpy sidewalk, you're definitely going to feel it. They're not the most forgiving tires if you're riding on like a bumpy sidewalk. These are meant for a trail, maybe the road, even like a gravel trail. I think these could do fine on, but again, if there's something that's really off-road, that's not really the intent of this bike. Another aspect of comfort or safety, my audio is gonna get weird if I bend down here, but you can see we've got a nice little plastic guard on the chain that covers the entire top of the chain, and it covers the actual front sprocket here. So if you're pedaling and you've got like long pants on, you don't have to worry about 1, getting any kind of grease on your pants, and 2, you don't have to worry about getting your pants like sucked into here or shoelaces or whatever. We've all had that happen at some point as a kid, so it's nice to have that little plastic guard there. We also have remarkable wire management and a very, honestly, beautiful design in my opinion. It's very Segway, it's minimal, it's pretty elegant. There's a lot that I like. You've got some loose wires on the front, but of course, because you're steering up here, I think that makes sense, but otherwise, you really won't see many exposed wires on the entire bike. So as far as the speed goes, more rideability on this. So this is rated a class 1, 2, or 3 e-bike, depending on where you are. So class 1 means the motor's gonna kick in while you're pedaling only, and it goes up to 20 miles per hour. You could pedal faster if you want, but it's not gonna assist you after 20. And class 2 is the same as class 1, but it adds a throttle as well. So if you wanted to ride with just a throttle, it can go up to 20 miles per hour. Class 3 is throttle up to 20 or pedaling up to 28. Now, this defaults to local laws, which I actually find very helpful. You don't have to look it up and worry about being in compliance. It uses the GPS when you first set this up. It knows your location. And then, of course, it's going to vary state to state, region by region. And so where I am, it's limited to class 2. So I'll go outside and I'll do a little acceleration test. Like I said, this is 85 Newton meters and a 500 watt rear motor, but it really feels much more powerful than you'd expect. And the price for this bike right now is $1,999. $2,099. Now, $2,000 is no small chunk of change, which is why I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Upway. You can get cash by selling your old e-bike or regular bike easily with a simple, fast, and hassle-free process. On Upway, you can also buy professionally inspected used e-bikes at up to 60% off retail price with a 1-year warranty and 14-day return policy. Upway is like the Carvana of e-bikes. All their bikes are certified by professional mechanics and go over a 50-point inspection to ensure there's no structural damage to the frame, mechanical components, drive system, battery, and accessories. They replace all worn parts as well, so anything that's not in like-new condition. And with Upway, your next e-bike can be delivered to your doorstep with fast and easy delivery. Selling your old bike is also super easy. Like I said, it could be an e-bike or a traditional bike. And all you need to do is just fill out the form on their website, linked below. Then you get an offer, and then they send you a free box if needed to arrange for your free pickup from your doorstep. So whether you want to sell your old bike to get extra cash for maybe the Segway Myon, for example, or perhaps you want some other e-bike, Upway is a great place to start. After this video, consider checking them out in the link down below to see how much you could save by using Upway. All right, so acceleration test, we're starting at 56%, gear 9, not that that matters. I'm gonna do throttle only first. We are in the highest level of assistance, and I am currently in hybrid mode, so there's class 1, 2, 3, and hybrid. So right now hybrid is basically class 2 and 3 combined. So 3, 2, 1. All right, so now let's do a top speed run. I'm in hybrid mode, so I should be able to go up to 28 miles per hour while pedaling. I'm starting off in the highest gear. That doesn't really matter because the motor assists you so much when you're in this high assist level that it's pretty easy to start off and stay in that gear. All right, let's see what the top speed is. Wow. Okay, so the acceleration with just the throttle was okay, but when you're pedaling, that's when you really feel like this is a very powerful and smooth bike. I got up to 28 very, very quickly. It's easy to hold that. The response is very smooth. It just feels like a very well-made e-bike. As far as the range on this is rated for up to 80 miles maximum range. That's kind of a strange rating, of course, because it depends. If you're riding slightly downhill, slightly uphill, more hills, more flat, if you're a heavier or lighter rider, how hard are you pedaling? What assistance level are you on? Really, generally my experience, it has a solid range. If you're going throttle only on pretty flat ground, you're not gonna get 80 miles, but you're gonna get a pretty good range on here in my experience. So taking a look at the cockpit, we've got our power button right here, which admittedly is a little bit small and tricky to remember where it is. It then asks for my password. If your phone is nearby, you'll use AirLock that way, but I could type in my password. The bike then unlocks, and you can see the display here, as I said, large color display, looks really good. Going left to right, you can see our blinkers all the way on the outside here. So if I turn on my blinker, you'll see very visible, even with your hand here, even wider hands that would easily be visible. And you can turn the blinker on and off using this little button here, left and right. We also have this red button, which is not only a button, but kind of a joystick as well. That's going to control our entire display. So you can toggle through different screens here, and we'll get into that in a minute. We've got our horn right there, which is adjustable in the app, but that's a reasonable horn. We've got a bell here, so if you're just passing pedestrians, that could definitely be sufficient. I'll get into the interface in a minute, but on the right side, we have the ability to shift gears, and we have the ability to change assistance. So we have 6 levels of assistance. You're able to adjust your assistance from low, up to mid, up to high. And you can actually shift gears electronically. You'll see your gears up in the top right, so we're in gear 8 right now. And so over here, if I just push this little lever up or down, you'll hear it electronically shifting gears. We also have our headlight with this button here. And we've got our throttle down below, and of course brakes on both sides. So now let's talk about security and locking this bike. So Segway has something called AirLock, which does a number of different things. So when I turn this bike off, it is going to, you'll actually hear it right now. If I turn it off, counts down, and then you'll hear, listen for this. It's hard to hear, but there's a little motor back here that it's sort of like a deadbolt on the back tire. So the back tire is now locked. I'm not able to roll the bike. I can't walk away with it. Obviously, you can lift it up and carry it, but that is one thing. AirLock is going to lock your rear tire. The second thing it does is it enables an alarm. So if you start pushing the bike, let me show you this little clip right here.
All right, now if I try to move the bike, I'm sure dogs are gonna go nuts, but locks up. And then you have to turn it on, and you can input your password. That's actually really good. That does, I would say, a fantastic job of stopping people from riding away with your bike. You could still carry it away, but the alarm draws a lot of attention.
So you can unlock this, of course, with a pin on the display. It's a 4-digit pin, or of course it's called AirLock because whenever your phone is nearby, it uses the Bluetooth and it'll automatically unlock when you walk up to your bike. That way you're not accidentally setting off the alarm every time you move your bike. This also has GPS and 4G on it. 4G you will have to pay for after the first year, but that's going to give you precise locating of your e-bike. So if it gets stolen or if you lost it or just forgot it somewhere, you rode somewhere and walked home, you can check and see exactly where it is. And of course, there are plenty of spots on here for an actual physical lock. For example, right in the back here is a pretty good spot as well. Now let's get into a hill climb test. This is rated for 12% slopes. It's got an 85 Newton meter max torque. And like I said, a hub driven motor. Let's see how it does.
All right, so for a hill test, we're looking at about an 8-degree slope, 7 or 8 degrees. It doesn't seem like much when you just look at the number like that, but it's a really steep hill. Like, it would be annoying to pedal up this. Let's see, just throttle only first and see how this does. All right, so I probably weigh like 180-ish pounds, 51%, maximum assist level, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so it tops out at about 12 or 13 miles an hour on that hill. Definitely enough to get you up there with throttle only. I think that makes sense. It's a 500-watt motor. That's kind of what we'd expect. Now let's try it again with pedaling. Obviously, there's variable with how hard I'm pedaling, but I'm just going to go down to like 5th gear and pedal reasonably hard and see what the acceleration looks like with that. All right, hill test while pedaling. 3, 2, 1. All right, so 5th gear was a little high to start, but it felt like the right gear for most of that hill. And I mean, it got me up to almost 20 miles an hour. So I think if you're pedaling up hills, this does a really good job. You also notice I shifted in there. The shifting was incredibly smooth. So might as well just show you right now. I could shift and you really barely feel it. Let me try it again. So I'll show you real quick. When you shift, I just hit up, you hear a little click, and you barely feel it. It's incredibly fast and smooth. Shifting on this is very impressive. The brakes are a little loud though, you'll hear that. But definitely pretty strong.
Now, when I was showing you the cockpit here, I mentioned the electronic shifting. Now, in my experience riding this bike, it's actually a very pleasant experience. Every time I hit up, it's a perfect shift. You don't get any kind of chain grinding. It's very, very smooth. And you can actually adjust this and fine tune it within the app. So anyone who's not particularly savvy with bikes, of course, this is going to have a dealer network. You can have them adjust it, but you could also potentially adjust it yourself using the app as opposed to, I mean, honestly, derailleurs are not hard. I like just adjusting a derailleur, but you know what? On the app, it's not a bad idea to be able to do that. All right, so this is the Segway app. You'll notice I do have a firmware update, a little complaint about that in a second, but on the top you've got, of course, you can see the bike, it tells you that it's connected, and we of course have 66% battery right now. If you tap into that, it does take a second, but it'll tell you like the voltage, it'll tell you the battery, there it goes, the temperature, and of course the battery percentage. And if we scroll down, there's a lot that it shows us. You can see recent trips on here, it shows you the odometer, it records a lot of different things, and if you go into more functions, there's a lot that Segway does, including if you go down, there's Segway Mobility Lab. They'll have new things coming out here, or for some reason, I'm not sure why they have speed modes limited in here. So like I said, it automatically goes to class 2, but if I'm riding on private land, for example, maybe I'll go up to class 3. If I'm in a different state that allows it, again, I'll go to class 3 or even hybrid mode as well. and we can calibrate the pedal assistance. I'm not going to do that right now. You can set your units in here. You have some E-shifter settings. So like I said, if you want to fine tune the gear switching, if it's kind of clunky between like 8 and 9, for example, then you can do that in there. You also have the ability to connect smart peripherals. Right now I don't have anything connected, but one thing that Segway came out with is a rear radar, which is going to notify you if somebody's coming up behind you so you don't accidentally swerve over and get hit by another bike. And this is good because, like I said, I think this is going to help people follow the law by having, class 2 e-bike if you are a class 2 e-bike state. But a lot of other e-bikes are just unlocked at like class 3 right away. And there's people doing 28 or 30 miles per hour on bike trails that probably shouldn't. And they're not necessarily going to be the ones that are telling you when they're passing on the left. So having that rear radar could be really good. Could also be helpful on a road when cars are going by, but obviously it's not a replacement for looking. You still want to make sure that it is clear if you're trying to merge or turn. And again, also because you have turn signals on here, it adds visibility, but of course hand signals are always going to be better when you're on a road. I recommend using both for safety. You can also change the password to make sure you're connected. Also, we have user management, so you can set up multiple riders on this bike. So you can have a family account up to 3 people. You can share your key, and that way somebody else can come and adjust it. You can also get over-the-air updates. Oh, and the complaint that I had about the firmware update, this seems to have been having some connectivity issues. I noticed that sometimes it'll disconnect and it'll show that it's connected, but it won't really be connected to my phone. This is a Galaxy S26 Ultra, so it is a very new phone, so it shouldn't have any issues. And whenever I try to do the firmware update, it says it's going to take like 20 minutes, and it typically fails a little bit more than halfway through. I've tried it multiple times. I'll probably try it again after filming this video, and I'll add a comment down in the pinned comments below if that actually works. Also, you can do things like honk and flash the light, sort of like a car alarm on this. So if somebody's near your bike, you can set that off from a distance. Maybe like if you see someone outside with your bike, of course you could do that. But with AirLock, it should automatically be, going off anyway if somebody moves it. And we have 2 other really cool things. You have navigation on here, and you have the ability to set up notifications and music controls on the bike. It'll show you what music is actually playing, or if you get phone calls coming in, that'll show up on the display as long as you're connected by Bluetooth. And navigation, similarly, is going to show up and give you turn-by-turn directions as you're riding your bike, as long as you set that up on your phone. Now, the display, by default, we've got 5 pages here. We've got the first page, which I typically use, which shows you your speed, battery level, assistance level, the gear, and the time of day in the top. If we go over to the right one, it'll give you some more data about your ride. It'll tell you like your average speed, your trip distance, your battery mileage, cadence, and things like that. We've got navigation, we've got music controls, and then you can go back to like warnings and walk mode and stuff like that. And then the last one's going to be just some kind of quick settings there. If you want to turn on walk mode, adjust the screen brightness or the volume, or go to quiet mode, you can access that from the last one. So, pros and cons of this bike. Pros, this is actually really, really good theft deterrent. I would still use a lock if I'm leaving it outside for a while, but if you just like park your bike real quick and grab a coffee, this is a pretty good way to keep people honest around your bike. The radar in the back, I think, would actually be quite interesting and useful. The shifting is really smooth, and the overall riding experience of this bike is absolutely incredible. It's a really smooth and powerful bike, as I said in the beginning, very advanced, and there's a lot to really like about it, but not everything is perfect. Some downsides: one, I don't personally need the E-shifter. I think the electronic shifter is really well done, but think about if the battery dies on this bike. Normally with e-bikes, you can always get home. You just shift to a lower gear because it's a heavier bike, and you pedal slowly and you get back home. With this, I don't believe you'll be able to shift at all if the battery dies. There might be some reserve battery that's saved for shifting, and I could be wrong. I haven't run this to absolute zero, but I would worry that you're not able to shift on the ride home. Also, there is a subscription, not required, but if you want to use the 4G, the LTE on this e-bike, then you're going to have, after 1 year, you have to pay for that cellular subscription. And of course, it's a cell plan, so not surprising. I think it's like $60 per year, and that's kind of an insurance policy if you're interested, and it can help you find your e-bike if it's ever stolen. So in conclusion, who is this e-bike actually for? Well, I would caution anybody who's not like super tech savvy to use this bike, because like I said, there's a lot you can do in the app, and some people might want to just get on their bike and ride, and they might get startled that the alarm is going off on here. So for some people, that might be a little bit too much tech, but I think for many other people, this is going to be probably the most premium e-bike you could ride. At least it is today, and I'm really excited to keep riding this bike. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about the Segway Myon. And if you have any questions, or if I come up with any updates after riding this more, I will add those to a pinned comment. Be sure to go down there and check that out for any updates that I didn't mention in the video. Also, if you want to learn more about this e-bike, I'll have a link down below. I'll also have a link to Upway, the sponsor in the mid-roll like I talked about. So check out both those links after this video to get started on your next e-bike. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.